First in our dive into game content that never made it in is this unused spacesuit model for Olivia. Opening the console with Tab and typing summon Eon characters.Olivia space will spawn her, and it has a mostly red color. It is actually a recoloring of Marin's spacesuit, which only appears in one cutscene in Chapter 4. One of the most mysterious entities in early promo shots was this creature, an unusual translucent humanoid that has some slight similarities to Seekers. It's featured here in this wallpaper from Chapter 4 and one screenshot from Chapter 6. You may remember them from a cutscene in Chapter 6 as well. The developers never even revealed its name or anything about its history, but thankfully it's spawnable in-game. EonCharacters.xRoboSapien will summon it, but unfortunately it's set to the default NPC AI, so there's very little indication of how it fought or even if it was an enemy. When it's killed though, it drops a human grenade. This is an early concept drawing for a human tank, which is the only media released involving this unnamed vehicle. There's hardly anything left of it in the game, implying that it was either scrapped early in development or never intended to be used. You can find in Chapter 3 a wrecked model of the tank, most likely scaled down immensely and missing its front turret. Similar to the tank, the only material ever released on this unused ATV is this screenshot. There's literally nothing that references this model in the game's code, meaning it was either deleted or again never intended to be implemented. It's used quite frequently in the Rock the Planet comic books though. The developers might have also meant for you to control Ethan and Marin, as they both have a playable character in the game that can be set as a default player model. Neither spawns with a gun, as opposed to their normal models, with Marin appearing with 2 Fausts and Ethan appearing with 1. A cut weapon that will look familiar to you is the Seeker Mass Disruptor. This is actually the long staff object used by Seeker elites. Of course, since it was never fully implemented, its ammo counter is in the negatives and it has no special effect when you try to fire it. It at least seems to have been programmed to rest on Gideon's back correctly, but the name of the weapon was never set, so the game displays this default message of replace weapon friendly name. It even seems to have been designed to change the way Gideon holds it when wielding 2 at once. Furthermore, unlike other weapons you can spawn into your hands, these have an actual model for first-person mode. There is also a special effect in the game called Mass Disruptor Implosion. Although several psychic powers were cut, there are still remnants of this healing power left in the game. This was most likely cut when Glyphix decided to have Gideon's health recharge over time. An alt-fire mode of this would have been heal radius, which implies that you would have to watch your comrades' health as well as your own. Again, this is most likely cut when the story NPCs were given infinite health. The healing power might have also had another effect for simply having it equipped on one hand. This would assumedly heal Gideon over time. You can also spawn Aurelian dropships. What's notable here is that it's in the game's vehicles package, implying that they at least partially implemented control for this cutscene from Chapter 6. The human diplomatic shuttle is also accessible, but unfortunately it's uncontrollable and doesn't stop moving. You were intended to be given control of this shuttle several times in the early game to drive to and from the Aurelian mothership. In the final game, it only makes an appearance in the cutscene where you crash into the station and the section immediately after that. And now we come to the Warhammer. This vehicle is famously missing from Advent Rising as it was talked up excessively by the developers. This massive mobile weapons platform came with 2 turrets and was meant to carry scythes on its back. The amount of promotional material for this car was ridiculous. It was featured everywhere, from concept art, to trailers, to a huge number of screenshots, to wallpapers. And you can even find it in the game as if it had always been there. Here, and even here. So what happened? You can summon the Warhammer by typing vehicles.warhammer_s, and the reason it was cut quickly becomes apparent. The Warhammer is gigantic, but seems to have no physics. Cuts were made at some point and the driver's seat is inaccessible, assumably because they had incredible difficulty getting such a large vehicle to handle correctly on the bumpy terrain outside Bar Han. You can't even get onto the vehicle without the charge jump. The only part that still works to an extent is its turret, which you can't climb out of once you're inside. You can also change the first-person mode inside the turret. Another cut vehicle was the Razor, or the Seeker Speeder. This hovering bike was meant to be used in a dozen of different areas in the game, typically replaced by the Seeker tank in the final. It too is accessible, and it works extremely well. Vehicles.SeekerSpeeder summons it, but it also can't be gotten out of once you climb in. The Razor is fast and agile, and was intended to be the vehicle you escape on in Chapter 6. You can switch between its normal forward movement option and hovering mode, and it has a complement of laser cannons that don't do any damage. Thanks for watching.